Hi, I'm Claude O'Riordan, Marketing Associate with Crystal Lean Solutions, and I'm here today to speak with Maria Ryan on a recent case study. Maria, would you like to give us an introduction to this case study and tell us what it's all about?
Thanks, Claude. And this particular case study is a recent one with a company called AMCS, and they're a global software service organization with a huge growth trajectory. They've been phenomenal at what they've done in the last couple of years. And I suppose that was actually the trigger for this particular scope of work, where, to support the growth, they were looking to actually implement a strategic deployment process to align the whole global organization to their 5 strategic objectives.
Where would you start with something like this, Maria?
So, and look, that's really a great question in terms of, we have a 5-step transformation model that we work with clients with. And it's very much, you can see the 5 things here. So we're going to talk through these here as part of our interview today. And really the starting point is very much around looking at the strategy design. So with that step here, there's a tool that you might have come across. It can be called either the X matrix or Hoshin planning. And whilst it visually looks quite foreboding, I'm just going to pop it up here. So it's kind of an Excel sheet that you can use. However, it's really, really powerful, and I'll show now in a moment in the next slide as to what are the key elements within it. And what we did here is we had, say, 2 days with the senior leadership team. And what you're really doing here is, first of all, looking at this what. It's very much saying, okay, what do we want to actually have achieved in the next 3 to 5 years? Then we're going to look at exactly how far we can go. So for the following year, if it's a growth of 50%, we'll grow for maybe 15% next year. On the top here then is we look at how we're going to deliver that growth. So what are those strategic objectives? And then over here, it's basically what are the goals around those particular strategic objectives. What I really liked with the AMCS here is the who. The accountability actually was with the senior leadership team. So they didn't actually delegate it in terms of accountability. They were accountable and had a monthly meeting on this as well. What I also liked as well is in terms of the who was involved. So you had the whole strategic team, senior leadership team involved. So you had HR, finance, product development, customer success, marketing, new product development, every team that's involved in actually delivering the growth around the business itself. So it's very impressive in terms of that.
And outside of the leadership team, who was involved?
So once we'd worked with the strategic leadership team here, next thing we actually started engaging with was with the middle management team. And what was really good is then each of the different senior leaders worked with their middle management team. And what we did here with those then is we'd actually facilitate workshops with them. So first of all, we were looking at using what we call a causal tree. And the idea is for each of those strategic objectives, what were we actually trying to achieve? So here we developed what we call the scorecard, and it's to pick out of all the different metrics, which ones that if we focus on will actually have the biggest impact on the actual, say, for example, growth objective that we mentioned earlier. So this example here, so we look at maybe the lagging metrics and then looking at leading metrics, and you have an outcome here of one of the scorecards. Just an example. So this one here is, for example, if you're with the customer support, you're looking at 2, for example, would be customer satisfaction and mean time resolve. So you'll be looking at where we're at now and what's going to be the goal in this case for 2020. And then looking to try and split that up month on month, how far will we actually go? And the next thing then is looking at the structure. So what we had here is we have 3 levels, and the level or tier 1 level is basically the monthly review using those scorecards with the senior leadership team. So they would take the input from their middle managers and the strategic teams working together. The tier 2 then is the sponsor working with the team leader. So again, maybe either every week or every 2 weeks, looking at performance, looking at anything to elevate. And then the level 3, then this tier 3 is working with team members themselves and actually what will they do on a weekly basis to deliver the strategic objectives.
Maria, just on the tier 3, how did you engage the team?
So I suppose, because leadership were so, committed to this, we, had a great opportunity here to actually work with the strategic teams themselves. So not only with the management, but actually working with team members that would be able to deliver these. So we had a training program. So, and what I liked is so we used Microsoft Teams to actually deliver training around this process, around the roles with it. And what was really, really powerful is that was, whilst I was delivering the training, we had the middle manager and the senior manager in at the start. So they'd be explaining, what's the purpose of this? How does it link to the 5 strategic objectives? And what the process is going to look like. So they really explained the why. And you can see here just kind of some of the global locations that we touched on. So it was just really phenomenal, the access that we had. We also recorded in the training. So if you missed it or wanted to recap on something, you were able to go back and actually go through the recording as well. And key was keeping it short. So it wasn't days in training, it was short modular approach and using role plays where possible. So that's kind of what we worked on from that perspective. And from that, to bring it to life then, what each of those teams is for each of the strategic objectives, they put together a milestone chart under the Gantt. Then we use the Scrum board to say, right, each week, what are we going to do? So we pick 2 commitments and you're going to work on those each week. And then the differentiator here between the other processes, the weekly focus that you'll see in the scorecard. So you were linking the Scrum right through to what are we actually going to deliver next week? And learn from that. If it was green, excellent. And if it was a yellow or a red, what did we learn? What can we do to recover? That's kind of the deployment. So that's what the teams themselves were doing at this level 3.
And how do you manage this globally? How do they do this?
Yeah, so look, I like it was fantastic because they were even before COVID. They were an agile organization, so we're very much leveraging the power of Microsoft Teams. So we were able to, for each of the 11 strategic objectives, we set up a channel for each team, and then they would use the Scrum board in each team, which was the planner function. We'd have the Gantt chart saved in there and the scorecard saved within each of those. So Microsoft Teams was definitely the platform to connect that global part of it, and then setting up the tier 3 tier meetings to match the different time zones that people were in. So there was quite a lot of work to set that up as well, to get that right. So that was kind of another part to it as well.
Very good. Would you have any examples of some results?
So I suppose the example here, I'll just pop it up, is that there was 11 different strategic objectives. So each month the senior leadership team would review the scorecards. One example here just from the product development team was looking at, for example, their customer found defects. So for example, they reduced the CFDs or their customer found defects by 61%, and that was based on their 100 story points. They actually had taken down the cycle time by 50% for a user story. And actually we're also, by working this way, the collaborative element actually improved productivity by 65%. So, really, really such powerful stories in here. And what I liked as well is that the system of bringing problem solving in was powerful. And so if there was 2 months of reds on the scorecard, then we targeted A3s on that and worked specifically with those teams to be able to address and close those gaps out as well. So that's, I suppose, in terms of the process we went through, the results that came through. What's also important here is that continuous improvement journey. With any process that you deploy, say, for example, with clients, we get feedback, we do that lessons learned, and we continuously improve. So in this case, we had the opportunity of working with 3 focus groups, and we sent out 4 surveys as well. So we got access to maybe about people to kind of. And you see here some of the feedback, in terms of the 5 key themes as to what people liked on the left-hand side, what were the benefits. Key thing was around that clarity, alignment, focus, being data-driven. And, when you did actually, move to green, that tremendous sense of success. And on the right-hand side here then was kind of examples of areas of improvement that we got back. What typically comes up, and you see it here in the first one and the third one, is very much the resourcing side of it. So spending more time on that. Again, trying to improve the communication. What was great is to replicate the process, which was great feedback to get. And again, building in how do we get that cross-functional support, just to improve that as well. So they were really, I suppose, the main key feedback points from that continuous improvement journey as well.
Very good. And what would you advise of next steps?
So I suppose two, one is keep the process going. You know, it's a continuous improvement process, so you keep moving it forward. The second thing is on that top right around the resourcing is that we have a kind of a resource planning tool. So again, to integrate that into the strategy deployment process to strengthen up the case so people again have the time to actually work on these and be able to allow leadership to make those decisions.
Maria, thank you very much for your time on this case study. If anyone would like to get in touch, please do so with the information on screen now. Thank you.
Thanks, Clodagh.